High Step Media.
Well, a young pastor, I would tell them that I personally planted the first church when I was 28 years. That's when I began this ministry. And I knew nothing. I was not even married. But today the ministry is international. What has been the secret? Remaining focused in what God has told you. Just to be a person of integrity who can be trusted. Don't just be patient and not just want everything to be done today. Just wait upon God and let Him drive you. Think as big as you can about the church and the vision you have. Start small with what you have. Don't wait until when you'll have everything. And start now. So the young pastors, I would like to tell them, 29 years, I am still worshiping in a tent. But I have made impact in the area of children, taking care of orphans, leadership all over the world, peace building. If I waited for the building, then I would probably have done nothing. But 29 years later, I am in the tent, but I've built the lives of people. And now it's not going to be hard to build the church because I've been building people, they will build the church. God spoke to us about taking care of the orphans and improving the quality of life and the vulnerable children. By the grace of God, 29 years after, we have taken care of over 400 children. As we speak, 295 are in our homes, 7 children's homes, and with schools and caring for their education, their food, their clothing. God spoke to us about developing leaders who are going to take this work and move on. So we have leadership development that really helps us to train and equip leaders to spread the gospel and produce servant leaders. We are equipping our own young people from homes to become the next leaders.
How would you state that? Where is the church now currently standing as a unifying symbol in this nation? Yes.
Yes, in Kenya the church is, we haven't done the best we could do, but we have tried as much as we can to engage our leaders in terms of uniting. We are doing more in the area of prayer, to pray for this nation. And I'm telling you, if it was not for the prayer of the church, we would probably be talking of a terrible conflict and through all these political situations. But we are praying, that's our role. We speak to the political leaders. They are members of different churches, so we get those opportunities to speak to them. And once in a while, we are given the opportunity by the media also to speak to the many who are not our members. So in an opportunity like this, we use it to tell the leaders that the Kenyans are looking at them for unity. My parting shot is that it is time to build.
Thank you for tuning in and welcome to High Step TV, the home of truthful, accurate and verified information, as well as juicy and interesting news that we bring you from time to time, ranging from interviews with great artists as well as inspirational men of God who have moved the world, who have also changed this nation of ours. Today we have taken the pleasure of visiting this magnificent church, this good house of God at the Glory Outreach Assembly, Kahawa Wendani. Be sure to join us, be sure to follow us all through, even also be sure to subscribe to our channel if you have not, at High Step TV, for these and more stories. Also do leave your comment beneath there. That my cameraman and I would take you around to be able to see what is happening in the church, what projects do they have for us, and what else they have in store for us. As the day goes by, kindly feel welcome to follow us and also continue enjoying whatever events we have today. Continue following us and be sure to enjoy this and much more from us. So as agreed, we have said that we can be able to follow the events of what is happening throughout the day. You can be able to see the tent that we are going to go in, where the meeting for the construction and the strategies are going on. Right there, we're going to establish what plan is there for the church to continue being built. We're going to understand what they have in store for us. We're going to understand how they intend to fundraise, whatever they intend to do in order to achieve that particular dream that they have. Indeed, it is said that you write down your vision if indeed you intend to achieve it. For sure, it tarries, but it never misses. When the time for accomplishment comes, it surely has to be done. It surely has to be completed. And that seems to be the case of what is happening here at the GOA Kahawa Wendani Church, that a time has now come for it to be fulfilled. A time has come for the headquarter to be built, for the people to have a place to call home, for every other branch to have a place to come to whenever they need to attend to their home.
That's the message that I wish to bring to you this morning. On behalf of the organization, we have been praying and we hear God calling us to build this house. And we feel that it is time for that. And our call is drawn from the book of Haggai, chapter 1, from verse 1 to verse 15. The context of this is when Solomon died and the kingdom got divided. When the kingdom got divided, God was not happy about that. So what happened is that King Nebuchadnezzar was used as the tool or the weapon to whip the nation that did evil. So Nebuchadnezzar went and conquered Jerusalem. And he took the Jews into captivity. And Jews, remember, are God's people. He broke down the protective walls, made them to walk over 1,400 miles, and he stole all the articles and everything that symbolized the national treasures of the Jews. So God's people were taken into captivity for 70 years. This is the context. And if you read Jeremiah 29 verse 10, it says, after 70 years are over, I will come and deliver you from captivity. And that is a message that the people in exile did not want to hear, that God will only deliver them after 70 years. And so, but they were in captivity for 70 years under the Babylonian rule. And even us, as the preachers, we always skip verse 10 of Jeremiah 29 because we don't like to tell people about the waiting. We don't like to tell people about the hard times. So we don't preach verse 10 of Jeremiah. We preach 11, which says, for I know the plans I have for you, the plans of good, the plans to prosper you. Yes. So that is where we preach. But before that is verse 10, which says, after 70 years are over, I will come and deliver you. There is a time for difficult times. There's a waiting time. There's a time when God does his process in us. And so that was the time that was for the Jews in captivity. Then King Cyrus is known for having come with a letter that is probably one of the few letters that are clearly written in the scriptures. And you can read his letter in Ezra chapter 1. It's a nice letter written by King Cyrus. And he's coming in to be used by God to help the Jews to return back to their country and come from the exile. The 70 years are over. And King Cyrus issues a decree that it is time for them to go back to rebuild the temple that had already been destroyed. So the Jews are led by Zerubbabel to travel back and to begin to work. I can imagine in my mind the joy of the Jews having received the letter from King Cyrus allowing them to rebuild their temple. And I can see them greater joy for them following Zerubbabel as a leader to go and rebuild the temple once again. The temple for the Jews is significant. It symbolizes God's presence. It is a symbol of unity in their midst. It is their heritage. So for them to hear that they are going to rebuild that was great, great joy. And Zerubbabel must also have been a great man to be used by God to lead the people back into what Kenyans in their political language may call second liberation. Second liberation, whereby they are getting another freedom, where they are rebuilding their temple or their church. Now the Jews from exile went with a clear purpose. They have gone to rebuild the temple, but when they got there, they forgot. They forgot that they had gone there to rebuild the temple. They forgot the decree had been issued by the king. And they settled for other things. The priorities were misplaced. They lost their priorities of rebuilding the temple. And opposition also came in from the people that they found when they went back. They did not want them to rebuild. So what priorities did they get into? They got into building their own homes and living in paneled nice homes and doing their things. And so what God brought them out of exile for did not really happen. The local population did not want new people coming in, so they did not want a new project. They were happy when the Jews were in exile. Now they are coming back, and they want to rebuild and reestablish themselves, and they were not happy about that. So they opposed the building of the temple, and they wrote a letter, which is written in Ezra chapter 4, to the king Artaxerxes to protest the building. They said, no, we can't have these people come. They have come back. They want to rebuild the temple. We refuse. We are not accepting that. And King Artaxerxes in Ezra chapter 4, verse 17, he responds. And these are the few letters that are in the scriptures, which you can go read. In a letter, categorically saying, stop that building. The building should not continue. No more construction work should continue. That's what he writes back. And so the work stops for 3 reasons there. Because of people's misplaced priorities, because of opposition, and because of the apathy that was in the construction work. 18 years later, they still have not built. They still have not built the temple. They came from exile. They started. They have done the altar, but they have not built, and then they stopped. So it's not done. And at this point, God is not happy with them, and so He speaks through prophet Haggai, and Haggai speaks, calls people to go back to God's values. He reminds them why they were released from exile. He says, is it a time for yourselves to live in paneled homes while this house remains a ruin? So He calls them back to their senses. He kind of asks them to reorganize their priorities. And then in verse 5 of Haggai chapter 1, he tells them, give careful thought to your ways. And that is the theme of GOA for this year. That is where our theme is drawn from. And that's the context of that theme. He tells them, give careful thought to your ways. Reorganize your priorities. Come back to your senses once again. You came from exile with a clear mandate to build the Lord's house. You began by doing other things, your own things. Now, get back. Give careful thought to your ways. That forms our theme for this year, which is informed by a call from God to rebuild His house for this year. Now, Haggai does not only throw the challenge that you give careful thought to your ways, but God uses him to point out what do they need to do. They are in the problem already of having stopped the construction because they were in the wrong priorities, because they gave in to opposition, because they gave in to apathy. So he says, what do we need to do? And the action in Haggai chapter 1, verse 7 to 8, is after you have given careful thoughts to your ways and seen where things went wrong, then go up into the mountain. Don't remain there. Go up into the mountain. When you're going up into the mountain, bring down timber. Don't go to the mountain and come back with nothing. And when you bring down timber, build God's house, because it's time for building. This is the action that he calls them to. And the people respond to Haggai's message. Of course, with a decree that is again given by another king, King Darius, that they can continue rebuilding. Another letter is written again to counter the one written by Artaxerxes, and they are around to rebuild, and so they start building the wall. And in chapter 5 of Ezra, the work is complete. Now, GOA is turning 29 years in April this year. Our anniversary is the last week of April, the first week of May. That's when we started GOA in 1991. The last week of April, the first week of May, in between there. And that's why we normally do our family conferences there to mark our anniversary. We are 29 years old. And within those 29 years, we have built a lot of church growth ministries. Under the church growth ministries, we have constructed permanent buildings. Many of them. Many. Maybe next time I'll have done better research. I'll tell you how many we have constructed, but many. We have constructed some with stones, some with wood, some mabatis, some under the trees. We have built a lot of children's homes. Many children's homes, and within a children's home, there are dormitories built, there are classrooms, the schools are built, There are dining halls built, many buildings. We've built a lot of buildings. And we have built peace and conflict resolution program. Even though we have not built many structures, we have land in Mokongi for peace building and conflict. And we have a home where we have resettled post-election violence there. So they also have asset. And we have invested a lot in developing people, particularly the development of leaders. A lot has gone into that. Millions and millions of shillings have gone into that. Both developing buildings and developing people. But we feel that the Lord is telling us it is now time to build the headquarters for the ministry. All what we have done is good, but it is not good enough for an organization that does not have a headquarter where the people in those structures and those ministries were built call home or call office. It is not good enough. I do not know if God was speaking through Prophet Haggai, if he would blame us for building local churches in permanent houses when the headquarters is in a tent. I don't know whether he would blame us for that. But in my own conscience, I feel 29 years. We probably have started building the headquarters earlier than 29 years. Probably it may not have been the first to build, though even if it was the first to build, that would have been better off. But the more we continue building local churches out there, building homes and building classrooms and schools, and not having a headquarters that ties up this, something is not right. It's not right in our priorities. And this is the time that we correct what is wrong in our priorities. And the way to correct it is to build God's house. And this is time for building God's house. Now when we build, Haggai told the people, God will be honored in verse 8. He says, when you build, God will be honored. When we build the headquarters, we will honor God. The glory of the new house that we build will be better than where you are right now. This is the office. This is the church, the headquarter church. That's the office. When we build the new house that will be told how it looks like by the next speaker after me, it will have a better glory than this tent and than that office. The future generations of GOA will have a building that will symbolize unity. Now, this is important. The current crop of GOA leaders is formed by the founders or the pioneers who founded GOA. That is the current crop of top leadership of GOA. The next generation of the future of GOA will be formed by others who will come, our children and our children's children. Today, we do not experience any challenges or any struggles anywhere in terms of leadership, in terms of authority, in terms of, we don't experience those. Why? Because it is still the pioneers, the founders who are in leadership. And therefore, we earn that respect from those we read by virtue of the anointing of founding, by virtue of being pioneers. So we have no criticism. Oh, it could be out there. We don't have a problem to implement anything. But we move by the grace and the glory of being founders today. It will not going to be like that tomorrow and the days to come. Today, I am the founder. I am the bishop. And therefore, I am enjoying that privilege because of my anointing. And I am a uniting factor wherever I go. If I go to Uganda, I'm a uniting factor. If I go to Burundi, I'm a uniting factor. If I go to Marsabit, if I go to a children's home of GOA, I am a uniting factor. And people will listen to me as a uniting factor by virtue of being the bishop. And people sometimes will ask, what did the bishop say or did the bishop say? Reverend Kareli is a founder. He is enjoying the privilege and the grace of having been a founder. Even if he did not go to a place and say, I am a church growth director, even if he just showed up and never said his title, people will respect him, they will listen to him by the anointing and the grace of being a founder. Reverend Joyce is part of the founder who got married 1 year after the ministry started. Esther has been a founder, the compassion department, all the way right from the people praying for the ministry in Karima Girls High School where we work together with her. Most of the top leadership is about founders. the leadership director, joined the ministry in December 1999. There are some people here who are not born by then, so she is also not new in the ministry. We are leading by virtue, we are uniting the ministry today by the respect that people give us by being founders and being the co-founders. But we will not be there for long. The future generations needs something like a building that symbolizes that they call a headquarter, which even if they came in there needing something, they need a letter of approval, they need a stamp, they need something. Whoever they will find there, even if he is 2 days old in GOA, they will recognize and respect him by virtue of being in the headquarter of the ministry. They will listen. They will, when there is a problem that occurs somewhere in a children's home in the future or in a school of GOA, they will not need a founder member to go there and be respected. Even if we sent someone else, they will be respected because they are coming from the office, or if somebody called them. Right now, we are not employing many people who are outside GOA because we have already given birth and brought up and produced our own. So we are really looking at GOA to be the employers. That's why we have employed Becky. Becky, lift up your hand and lift you. That's Becky Mwende. Becky Mwende is the assistant director of compassion. She is the child we brought up. Now, there are many people who cannot listen to Becky today because they will ask, what did Esther say? Did Esther say you? But when Esther will not be there, Becky will need to have an authority to sit in the headquarter office built that unites people and calls people, and they come and they listen to her because they are united by the office, the symbol, the headquarter that brings them together. 3/4 of the people, of the staff we have, even the head office, are now much younger. It's only a few of us who are above 50. Just a few of us. The rest, I think the above 50 are only 3 people in our office, if not 4. And you know, women are not dated. They are like music. The music goes and it comes back. The same one that was played long time ago becomes the fashion. So women and music are not dated. So I don't want you to go asking the women in our team how old they are, whether they are in the 3 or not. Neither do I want you to start speculating who are the 3. But common sense has it. So what I'm trying to say is that in the future, we are going to have young generation of the Beccas there, Beckys, of the Graces and the Pauls, Minas, and the rest, who are not necessarily in that, having that grace of pioneering and founding. The future generations of GOA will need to have a building that symbolizes their unity wherever they are internationally and reminds them of their heritage, where they came from. Today, when I stand, they tell me, Bishop, tell us how you started with the ministry. When John goes, they'll say, tell us how you, when you had that first bicycle. Tell us. They refer to us as the archive or the history book. But we will not always be there. They need that information stored and kept in the office, and a building that symbolizes that and glorifies God in the community. This tent does not bring much glory to the people passing by when they see it. Particularly when the wind blows, it doesn't really glorify God much. And so we need that. There will be a place for GOA dreams and visions when we build this building. And that's why we changed the name and the branding of this project, and we called it GOA Dream Center. Initially, we were calling it GOA Headquarters. We changed it because we wanted to go beyond the headquarter functions of that administrative and begin to be a center of GOA dreams and visioning and being able to envision a world where everyone has a church to attend to through church growth. Start dreaming and envisioning a world where all unleashed people groups have been reached with the gospel. A world where young people are blessed and allowed to use their talents through sports. A world where through compassion ministries where orphans are taken care of in a dignified manner and their quality of life is improved. We need a place, a building where teams of compassion can envision and dream, where children have equal education and equal opportunities for quality education, that team that needs a place where they can comfortably sit and be able to envision a world with peace and dignified ways of resolving conflict, in a world where servant leaders are being trained and equipped. That place is what we are calling the GOA Dream Center, and that is why, that's what we need. That's what will happen when we build. God will protect us, and He will give us energy to complete the work when we start. 2 Corinthians chapter 12 verse 9. When we start, and we have received a lot of prophecies here, including the last overnight meeting, the Kesha, when somebody stood up here and told us, God is telling me to tell you that if you start that project, it will not stop. Money will come, and it will come. So don't fear starting. We have received many of those prophetic words because God will give us the energy. He will protect us during the place, at our place of work. And God will equip us with everything for good, for doing His will. Because this is His will. It is His time. It is time for building. It is God's will that we build. It's God's time that we give the future generation a place to call their headquarters. So my question as I come to an end of my keynote address this morning is, can we dream together that we can start this project that we have not started over many years, and we see ourselves and envision completing it or almost completing it and having it dedicated on or before the GOA's 30th anniversary, which is going to be April, May 2021? That's the question. Is that possible? What that means is we start, we build, and get it to a point where we can complete it. The theme of this year for us is giving careful thoughts to our ways from Haggai. What is it that has prevented us from building? What is it that our attention has been given to? And reorganizing those. So if we give careful thoughts and start, our next year, financial year, will start on April of this month. Our year starts April 1st. And it will end on April. The current year is the 28th year. So the April for 2021, the conference, the 30th, we will be marking 30th anniversary. Can we mark that by having done significant work in building? That is why we are here today, to ask ourselves that question. And so this is a GOA Dream Center for dreamers who strategize and continue with the discussions on what will it take for us to get there. What we are clear and sure about, it is God's time to build the house. It is God's time to build the work that we have. I will allow the next speaker to come and tell us what is this dream, what is this vision that we are actually talking about.
So far, I had already completed that and submitted to the county. We did a change of user, which was approved, and the drawings were submitted. They are already paid for. And the process, as at now, we are just waiting for the permit. It is at agenda meeting where it's waiting to be minuted and given approval number so that we can get the permit to start off. Then after that, the structural drawings will be done and submitted for the same, and the process will be complete. Now, looking at the drawing and where we are seated right now, the site, as you can see, is at and the space that we are using right now where the church is the space behind here, huku chini. So, and where the offices are is at the sharp end where the two roads meet. Now we have a basement parking. As you can see, the site is slanting towards that side. And at the point from where the gate is right now, we will have to cut away the raised part so that we will have that basement parking, and meaning at where the office are, we will be having those washrooms, and we will also drain towards the lowest end. That's where you can see the septic tank. So about the access, where the gates are, we have a gate for the basement parking and another one to the lower side, where we will also have a small restaurant. You can see where the tables are and the kitchen. Then the external space above the septic tank, we had agreed that people can be sitting up there with some tents. Now, the other is the ground layout. Now, on the ground floor layout originally, we didn't have it as parking. It was demanded that we show more parking spaces for the purposes of approvals. But as you can see, internally, outside the road is very wide. I believe there will be enough parking spaces out there combined with the ones that we have at the basement. Then we revert back to the plan. But the physical planner demanded that we have to show it, even if that's not what will necessarily be done on site, because also the number of cars and the change of technology may affect other things later. So after that, I will show, I think, do you think we need to show the previous plan? Yeah, we will. The planner said, since the bylaws were set earlier and they were not informed by the current status, we will have to go by them first. Then on ground, we can revert back the other plan that we had put for the Sunday school, the youth, and the other offices, and the cyber. So initially, this was the plan as per the brief. The initial brief from the church members, these were the demands that we need to have small spaces for cyber and some few offices downstairs, Sunday school and another hall for the youth. And the capacities were about 210. It's not very clear. That was a children's hall with a capacity of 100 and the youth hall with a capacity of 142. So the total was about 240. Then the entrance, initially, as I had presented, maybe some of you have seen the drawings that were pinned there. We revised the access, as you can see, and the lift with the architect Karori. So that is what we achieved. Then we can go to the church, the other floor. So above the ground floor, we have a raised suspended floor. That is the first floor, which will be the main church with a capacity of 250 people. And as you can see, the seats will determine the capacity. It might go higher or lower. This one is professionally done and quite spacious, providing proper spaces. As you know, the church, there is a lot of dancing and movement around, and I think that will be the best. So I prefer we have it that way. Then we have a raised gallery with a capacity of 130. And maybe some of you may wonder, why do we need to have to put a lift and the staircase at the same time? It's because inside the church, in the congregation, we have different people accessing the place. We have children, we have the old, we have the sick, we have the energetic. And all those groups, they are not limited to church. I believe so. So they need to be provided with access that will not be pressing them too much. And with the use of lift, then everyone will be able to access even with a wheelchair. And then surrounding the lift, we have the staircase that can be used by whoever is able to access through that route. Then the other one is the gallery I've mentioned, and there are 2 offices in the front, properly balanced by the pulpit area. Then we go to the other floor. After we had done the church that you can see with that 3D there, the bishop requested that we revise and that we introduce another floor with offices, and this is what we achieved. Above the gallery, we will have another suspended floor which will be hosting several offices. I think you can expand. Yeah. So from the front, we have the executive director's office, and opposite that office we have a boardroom with a capacity of 17 seated. It also has a small store and an independent washroom for the executive director. Then we have the other office for director development and his assistants on the other side. I'm told there should also be a space for interns. That is what is provided on the other side for every office. And then there is a director peace building with this other office, director compassion and director for growth. And that is generally the main access to those offices, with a kitchenette, washrooms, and a reception and a store. Most of the development currently, according to research, is that they are lacking archives where one can access the history that Bishop has given, how people started, how the development came about, whatever has happened along the way. And this information is usually very important and vital for developers or for the future leaders, because they need to know how everything was achieved to that level to enable future development without repeating either mistakes or something that never worked. So that is the store provided for that purpose, for filing, and at the same time as an archive. Afterwards, Bishop also requested that we do another floor to allow for water storage. So I've revised that, but I didn't come with the drawings yet. I want the engineer to approve the proposal that I gave, so that then we can conclusively say we've achieved this much. But from my view, we will be able to get it. Yes. The baptism pool will be within the pulpit area, but under. Yes. So that will be provided for. Let me check whether I have the 3D. Yeah, generally that will be the look. Although architect Karoli had suggested a few revisions and to tone down some elements for cost and the roof. So, but basically as at now, that is the look. That's how it will be.
Good afternoon. My name is Nyaga Kithinji. I don't have anything to project. I am a social worker because I'm a teacher. Teachers are social workers. I am also an operator from Luke 14:28. I do costing, which is biblical. From the agenda, I'm supposed to present to you bills of quantities. I'll tell you what bills of quantities are. Bills of quantities are books which contain The work to be done broken down in square meters, linear meters, linear meters is what we say in the profession, but it's cubic meters of concrete, meters of running meters of steel or timber, square meters of painted areas, and kilograms of steel, okay? And then a lot of explanations, what to do, how to do it, and the specification of each. If the stones have to be strong so that they are, I don't know, is it 200 newtons per millimeter squared? It's all science, okay? So I won't give you any science. In fact, I don't have them. Secondly, the question that has been asked is about cost, whether the cost will go up or down. For that, I have an answer. It will go up. It's a simple answer. The cost will go up, of course, because the building has grown bigger. And so we were at 51 million, the last estimate we did, so it will definitely go up. Now, I have not done that because the structure has not been designed. The structure costs quite a bit of money. And the work that I'll do, the quantity surveying work, will be done on the basis of the architectural drawings and the structural drawings, and there will also be inputs from an electrical engineer, because you will have lighting and PowerPoints and all that. And also from a mechanical engineer, because you have toilets there, so you have pipes bringing water, pipes draining water. So this work to be done still, and once that is done, I will work out figures so that we are not referred to in those words, look at that fool who started building before estimating the cost, and now they cannot build, and all that. Now, when I realized that I have no cost to, no bills of quantities and no cost to bring, I decided to come and say something else, so that I don't give away my time. I am very passionate about using every minute I am given. And so I will talk to you about how to build, but not in a technical sense, because how to build is simple. We will just get people, stones, sand, cement, we put it together, and we get mabati, we put them on top of the building, and doors and windows, and then we can close spaces, then we bring in seats and sit, and there will be a pulpit, and it will be done. So again, that one is simple, it's answered. We will build like we have always built. Now, I decided to say the things I'm going to say because on 7th of December, no, on the 7th of January 2020, Bishop Thagana wrote a message to the board. And I'll read just part of it. It is the one which inspired what I'm going to say. And he said, I'm reading from the middle. So ... meeting, educated, inspired, optimistic that this project that has stood as a monster for years is doable, and what role we need to play individually and jointly to start the project and build several phases in 2020. So that's what I'm going to talk about, what we are going to do individually and jointly, and I will also talk about the monster. And so I begin. Proverbs 23 verse 7, as a man thinketh in his heart, so it is, so he is. Now, Bishop, You know, when I'm in element, I would have basically taken upon you and we'd have had an argument. But a man who takes upon a bishop is also a fool, and I'm not foolish. So I decided not to do that. But I will ask the question and I don't need an answer. Are we in this congregation thinking that this building of ours is a monster? I won't require an answer from you. I'll give you an answer, no. Because he actually said we are building God's house, the dream center, and we are going to dream good dreams for the glory of God. And because of that, then, we must build this God's house physically, like I have said, but we must take a journey which is informed by the Bible, because we are believers. And so I thought that the first way to build this is to think about it and talk about it as accomplished. And why not? Faith is the substance of things not seen. So we must begin now embracing it as built. We must have the faith, and then we must say words which acknowledge that it is built, it is achieved. Because again, in Isaiah 55:11, they say, so is my word that goes out from my mouth. It will not return to me empty, but will accomplish what I desire and achieve the purpose for which I sent it. So we must now begin proclaiming this. Where is the building? He has removed it. This one, not that one. We have abandoned that dream. Put the building here. I want to be pointing at it. Put the 3D. We must now proclaim this building which is about to come up here as accomplished, because our word will actually bring back the results. We must do that. Bishop, we must now proclaim that it is done. It is so. This one. It is no longer, and I could understand your frustration. And when I saw that word, I got very concerned that you are frustrated. It's many years and nothing is happening. So we will now begin by proclaiming this as done. It is so. It is done, it's accomplished, it's here, we are worshiping in it. In fact, when we sit here, we should begin feeling the feeling that we are here, because that's the way to build. We must first of all see it in our mind's eye so that it comes back accomplished, and we must talk about it as accomplished so that we actually sit in it. We must not be like those ones who said, you of little faith. We must have the faith. It's Hebrews 11:1. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Here we are doing very well. We even are seeing it. So, can we now top it up with the faith? So that this is the evidence, it is 3D. What will come on the ground will also be 3D. Now we must feel the touch of this building. So that even when we proclaim, we are proclaiming from a point of faith. Okay? And why not? Because faith is the foundation. Matthew 17:20. Because you have so little faith. Truly I tell you, if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move. Nothing will be impossible for you. So this mountain will move. Doubt is a problem. Doubt is a problem. But you see, we are creatures of our senses. And because we are always counting money and we say this will cost 80 million and we say 80 million, you start counting 1, you go to 10, then you go to 20, and we are not saying 20 million. We are saying 1 shilling, 10 shillings, 100 shillings, 1,000 shillings, 1 million, 1 million point 5, all the way to 80. It's not possible. Now that is what discourages us. But we are told that we must have faith. And that faith is the faith of a mustard seed. And I'll tell you the meaning that I ascribe to the faith of the mustard seed. The mustard seed knows only one thing, that it will grow into a mustard seedling, become a mustard tree, and bear mustard seeds, which will definitely become mustard seedlings and trees and bear seeds. It doesn't have two perspectives. So we really must have one perspective, that this will be done, it is done, it is so, by faith. Now, we are counting 1 shilling to 1 million to 2 to 2.5. Do we believe in the God of everything? When we pray, we say, God, creator of heaven and earth. God who created heaven and earth. And heaven is not just the skies we see here. Heaven is a big thing. It's big, it's huge. When we started, we knew that there was here and there. There is not millions of planets. It is millions upon millions, actually billions, trillions of galaxies out there. That is the power of God. This little flea here, do you think it will beat God in building? So, can we be of faith? Can we believe in the God of miracles? And the principle of miracles is that anything and everything is possible. And in Matthew 14, 13 to 21, I'll open the Bible here. Matthew 14, 13 to 21. Or who will read it? Remember, I'm not preaching. I told you I'm a social worker because I don't want to be seen to be saying things that I may not be very familiar with. If I misinterpret something, you will forgive me. That is the miracle of the fishes and loaves. Yes, it's. I think if we begin from 17 to 18.
Okay, so Matthew 14, 17 to 18. Jesus replied, "They do not need to go away. You give them something to eat." We have here only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish, they answered. "Bring them here to me," he said. And he directed the people to sit down on the grass, taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, and looking up to heaven. He gave thanks and broke the loaves. Then he gave them to the disciples, and the disciples gave them to the people. They all ate and were satisfied. And the disciples picked up 12 baskets full of broken pieces that were left over. The number of those who ate was about 5,000 men, besides women and children.
Thank you very much. Now, 5,000 men ate. Then there were women and children. We've just been told that more women go to church than men, so the numbers must have been more than 10,000 by far. And so, what we are required to do to build this church is that you bring your small fish and you bring your small bread, and miracles will happen. This is the house of God. because the nature of things is that this building looks big, but it is built, like we said last time when we did another discussion about this, it is built one stone at a time, one bag of cement at a time, one bar of steel at a time, one iron sheet at a time, and that's all what is required from you. One stone, one bag, one bar, and then miracles will happen. If there was no those crumbs of bread, if there was no those 3 fishes, the over 10,000 people could not have fed. But because they were there, the miracle had a foundation. So your little, what you consider little, is the subject. It is the substance which God uses to create miracles. And so let's encourage everybody. You know, when it looks so big, it is even discouraging. Si, sasa napeleka shilingi 50 kujenga mjengo kama hii, 50 itafikisha wapi? That is the crumb of bread. It will feed 10,000 people. So bring it. Bring it. Bring change. Let's build this with change. Let's build it with millions. Those who can afford millions, bring. But if you can't afford millions, bring change. And it will be built. Okay? Now, I ask you, are you intimidated by this? If you are intimidated, again, visit the Bible. Visit Numbers 13 to 33. This is the story of the children of Israel when they got to a point, the area they were going to occupy had been reconnoitered, military style, by Caleb. And when they went to check the kind of enemy they would be facing, they saw the sons of Anak. And they were big giants. And they felt themselves like grasshoppers in front of these sons of Anak. And they cried, they wept the whole night. Do we feel like grasshoppers when we see this? Let us not feel like grasshoppers, because we believe. And the word is very clear. And I will finish by asking you, whose report will you believe? Whose report will you believe? Is it whichever book? The answer is, as for me, I shall believe the report of the Lord. Can we believe the report of the Lord that this is built? Because we have been told, if you have faith, you shall say to that mountain. And we are also told there's nothing which is impossible to him who believes. So there's nothing like impossible. That's the report we are told. And we are told faith is the substance. Can we do this by faith? And we are told miracles happen and they are demonstrated. So let us believe in the report of the Lord, and it is built. Thank you. Thank you, Bishop. I am very careful when I give figures, because the figure that you give a client first is the one sticks to their mind. If you come later and they say, no, it will cost more, they think you are a thief. You are adding something for you to steal. If you say that it will cost less, the client thinks that you don't know what you are doing. I will be hesitant because I don't want to plant a seed which will then be discounted later. Because the change is quite substantial, and like I said, I have to measure cubic meter, square meter, everything. But of course, the one sure thing is that it is not 51 million, not 53, not 54, not 60, not 65. We are going up. We are moving. I think that's the point that I would like to give. So that when we begin on a solid foundation of understanding what our responsibilities, what the task is. Yes, I'll be careful about that. In terms of facing, that's what Karaoke Morris was talking about. The thinking is that once we look at the cost and we look at logistics, the facing will be based on the cost and the logistics of still operating this place when we are building. Then we'll be able to come up with a facing scheme which respects the constraints which are here. And warning, when you do work in phases, depending on how the phases follow each other, how you are accommodating the conveniences of continued use, it is sometimes gets more expensive. Yeah, but again, we'll do what is possible to minimize even the cost of facing. Just a word of caution is that we may be very eager to begin. And when you begin, like it is said in the Bible, and like it was prophesied, I was very excited when I heard that because I believe so myself. Once you start something, there is magic in starting. It begins attracting resources to itself. So the earlier we start, the better. But it is necessary that we have a critical amount of money which can take us to a phase which minimizes the cost of facing. So that we are able, for example, to move up to a first floor and cast it and perhaps waterproof it so that we can begin doing activities below that immediately. And then we save ourselves from other costs elsewhere. So that's the logistics of doing that. The facing scheme will need to be done after we have considered quite a number of things. Consider the activities, what it must be accommodated here, what is there which can move here. Do we start by chopping this part which comes this way? And there's quite a bit which will go into that. And again, it's all possible. The law, of course, says that you don't occupy a building which is under construction. The practice is that we occupy even when we are digging foundations. And so, it is possible that we will go around the law where we can go around it without doing anything criminal. And then we should be able to achieve it. Yes.
Any other question? Maybe, I don't know whether this one is going back to Morris again, but I've seen buildings which are big like this having issues with sound system. A lot of vibration, echo. I don't know whether you are going to engage someone or it is in your capacity to look into the building, the way it is, and whether we will be safe. So you are not part of that.
When it comes to sound, that is generally a unit that is referred to as acoustics. When I started the designs, I was a diploma holder. I knew something about it. I had considered that. Right now, as we speak, I went and acquired another degree. It added the knowledge. And right now, I am only 2 months away from acquiring another degree in architecture. I have that capacity right now. And we also did acoustics in piloting. I'm also a pilot. And we dealt a lot with the noise. So rest assured that we have that capacity to deal with that. All the dimensions, the materials, the shapes, and even the use of the population that will be sitting, we have that covered. Yes, you called him Takana. You had asked about a question on population that will be able to fit in. Properly seated as indicated there, we will have a capacity of 645. But I believe when there is a big congregation or a big meeting, people will usually sit even on the veranda, isn't it? The church that I was brought up in, we used to even sit outside. You provide the seats when there is a big function. But as at now, the capacity that will be able to sit every Sunday will be about close to 800. Bishop had asked earlier, we had mentioned that if there is that capacity, the administration can regulate how the Sunday school and the youth will go about, and there will also be use of screens so that we don't necessarily have to sit at the same place. There can be other screens and speakers in the other halls where people can watch from and listen from.
The 5 loaves and 3 fish, so that we can feed the 5,000 people. Thank you very much for that. So, as he prepares that, I believe this is something that we are going to do, and there is power in starting, and we are going to start. So, looking at the history of the far that we have come from, we came here some years ago, and we purchased this land at approximately 1.5 million and set up a tent, which was a gift to us by our chairman, and we constructed the perimeter wall and the offices at approximately 3.5 million. In 2019, we had the borehole drilled. It's just there behind the tent. We had the borehole drilled, and we installed the pump at about 1.7 million, which means if we were to start the construction tomorrow, we would not have any charge in the water for constructing what we are going to do. So in the last year, we had an average income per month of 272,256, with February having 547,780. So you can see the inflows through the bank and the M-Pesa. Those are our channels of depositing the money that we get. So you can see that flow, and when you look at this analysis, we have managed 21,000 in January, 547. You can take those figures and digest them. And the outflows, which of course we did the pump installation and the borehole drilling. We also did the approvals and also the purchased water that we normally sell, which then gives us a profit that goes into the project. We also invested in Cyton in 3 batches, which gave us a total interest of there is the principal. We invested some funds in February and September, and another one in September, and out of that we got 1.5 million. So that's the money that we have in Cyton. Our sources of income are usually the donations that we get from you. Some people make pledges, some people give generously. But we had 1.715 million through the donations. The bottled water gave us 48,655 in 2019. The borehole water, we have already started selling it to the people in the community. We started doing it in September, and it has already given us 39,525. Then there is the rent that the office normally pays, which goes to the project, 456,000. And then the investment in Cyton, which gave us an interest of 62,252. So the amount that we have invested in Cyton as of January, it's at 1.501 million that is in Cyton. So that's the money that we had in 2019, 3.760 million. So as of now, our standing balances. In the bank we have 2,265,065 shillings. In Cyton we have 1,501,064 shillings. And in the M-Pesa we have 860,358. So our fish and bread is 4,626,000 and 437 shillings. So to conclude, to participate in this project, one, you can buy our bottled water for your functions and personal use, and I would request the person who does that to probably stand up and so that you can see him and you can make your orders for our bottled water, Hilda. You can see her. Probably you will provide your number so that the people can make orders. You can also make your donations to the M-Pesa till number. That is 853725, or deposit to Equity Bank. That is account number 0. Probably you can copy it in your notebook under the account name Glory Outreach Assembly, Nairobi. Also, the members around here, you can connect your home to the clean tapped water from here, and you will have participated in building this. So, to achieve this, we are targeting, the money that we are sure to get is 38,000 from the rent, and then an X amount which will be from you, from the water and your contribution. So I will request any questions.
For those who are new, I'm Damaris or Mrs. Maina. Minor is the one that I was seated next to. Okay. Yes, I was given this challenging task, and I took up the challenge. Bishop said I'm well able, so, and I called myself an equal. So here I am to present this. So this is number one, maybe to introduce before I go there. We have all our proposal for this year, 2020, is to have some 10 million by the end of the year. 10 million. It will not come at the end of the year. We will do it in phases. And so we have three major fundraisers. And the one that I'm spearheading, it will be in June 7th. So please mark that date. The first one will be in April. The second one will be in June. And the third one will be in October. But October we may not be very much involved. It will be outside the country. So from that, now I am spearheading this for 7th June. And therefore, if you have realized what I've talked about 10 million that we are required to raise by end of this year. Meaning, for the 3 events, we are required to have how much per event? I need us to engage 3.3. So because it has a lot of other 3s, we call it 3.5, right? It will be 3.3, something. So we call it 3.5. That is what we are required per event on minimum. You can raise beyond that, but per minimum is 3.3. Is it on or off? Now, thank you very much, Mr. Kidiji, for preaching to them before I came, because it will be so easy for me to just flow. But I had thought about 1 Chronicles chapter 8, 1 to 21. This was David's plan for building the temple. But he was not the one to build. You know, the Lord had told him it is not him to build because he had shed a lot of blood. You can write somewhere and go read all of it. I will not be able to read. Ni kubwa sana. But I gathered some points from the verse that he gathered all officials from every walk and every profession. He gathered every official. And I'm going analyzing where we are as GOA. I think today, as we are seated here, we have gathered all officials from every walk and profession. Here, I have engineers. Here, I have architects. Here, I have accountants. Here, I have investors. I have, I think, everyone. I have theologians from all walks. So, are we ticking number 1? Yes. He expressed his conviction on building the temple, though he was not to build himself. So, he had the conviction in his heart that this temple needed to be built. Even though he's not the one who was to build, he had that conviction. So he charged the officials. Maybe there is someone who has had that conviction in their heart, but could be God says you are not the one who will build the temple for me. So the reason we are here as officials, to obey God's command. Number 3, David then gave Solomon, his son, the plans for the building. He did not leave any details. Actually, it was very detailed and written, in written form. Today, we have been given details of how we will build the altar. We've been given the plan, or I don't know how you call it in architecture. We've been given, and the way it was, nothing had been left. It was very detailed until I got confused on the way, because it was very detailed. Then David blessed or prayed for Solomon, encouraged him that God will not fail you or forsake you until all the work of the service of the temple of the Lord is finished. Imagine God just giving you that encouragement, that I will not fail you. Once we start this foundation, I will not fail you, nor forsake you until all the work of the service of the temple of the Lord is finished. Imagine, until that building that you've seen, the four floors, Yes, until it is finished. We will not lack fund to continue give until that work is finished. So now, the process of planning. We have guiding scriptures which are there. That is Luke 14, 28 and 32. I heard someone mention about it. I don't know whether it's still Kithinji. That suppose one of you want to build. You know, this is just a process of planning. Suppose you want to build a tower. Won't you first sit down and estimate the cost to see if you have enough money to complete it? For if you lay the foundation and are not able to finish it, everyone who sees it will ridicule you, saying this person began to build and wasn't able to finish. So here we are making some plans because this is God's command. This is the word of God, and we are always directed by the word of God. And he's the one telling us, yes, we want to build, yes, we want to create, to have a big, we can call it resource center that will have offices, we'll have where we will be baptized, we'll have an altar. I'm sure we will also have area where we'll come and be trained the instruments and all that. You know, it's a resource center. But what is God telling us to do? First sit down and estimate your cost so that you are not ridiculed when we start. The reason Joseph has asked with, or who is, I think Bamorage, has asked with the 4.6, can we be able to start? Because you have to start to sit down and think. Otherwise, we will lay a foundation, we will have removed the tent, and we will not be having a place to sit. And everyone will be looking at us and wondering, these people didn't think. This is also the process of planning continued. That is Jeremiah 29:11. God saying that he knows the plans he has for us. So God is a master planner. If he has a plan for us, he's a master planner. So we have also to plan, to follow him, to follow his steps, because he has a plan. Imagine he has a plan in his mind for us. So won't us also have a plan for what we want to do? Proverbs 16:3 and 9. 3 says, commit to the Lord whatever you do, and he will establish your plans. 9 says, in their hearts, humans plan their course, but the Lord established their plan. So, once we start, and because we have started at the altar, of course praying and asking God to guide us, we will not stop, because it is God who establishes our plans. And Proverbs 15:27, the greedy bring ruin to their households, but the one who hates, that must be the wrong one. Okay. I will not read that one because that was long. Now, we need some 10 million, as I said. I'll be very fast. Accountants, I think they think very fast in figures. Our target for the year 2020 is 10 million. Number of fundraisers are 3. I had given you an overview. We have 3 fundraisers. Target fund for each fundraiser is approximately 3.5. That's what we said, right? Gap for each fundraiser. We say the first one is in April, the other one is in June, the other one is in October. Okay, whether we want to raise, to put the fundraiser katikati ya miezi yako or at the end, I hope you understand. The first 4 months is January to April, right? The second 4 months is May to August, right? The other one is September to December. So whenever the fundraiser comes in, it takes into account the 4 months. Whether it comes at the beginning, and maybe the people who pledge up to December, for example, if it is the October one, is still within the third fundraiser. So the reason I say the gap for each fundraiser is 4 months. So per month, fund mobilization, for example, let's take ours. We are targeting 3.5, the one for June 7th. So per month, within the 4 months, we are required to give 875,000. Per Sunday, because we have 4 Sundays in a month, I am assuming I am just putting as an average. I know there are times we will have 5, but an average of 4 Sundays. Per Sunday, fund mobilization should be 218,750. So how do we get the 218,750? The first thing, even the Bible says, we start with Jerusalem, right? We start internally. You know, you take the gospel, but start with internal, Jerusalem. So here we are. Per Sunday, mobilization should be 218,750. Number of active churches that we have are 50. Number of active churches are 50. Naona nikiangaliwa na reverends. You will correct me if I'm wrong. Per church per Sunday, fund mobilization should be only 4,375. Having 50 churches that are active, per Sunday, each church toward this fundraiser should be giving 4,375 only. Per month, per church should give 17,500 out of the 50 churches. For the 4 months, if the churches want to do it once, they can say within these 4 months or whatever time, we will have just one. We mobilize our resources and give once. They will need to give 70,000, and the total amount will have been reached. The 3.5. So, sitaki kuendelea kabla watu wachukue picha. Naona zikichukuliwa. Sawa? Okay. So, that was funding from Jerusalem. Let's now go to from Friends of GOA Ministry. Today we have so many friends for GOA Ministry. Within us, if I can ask you, Reverend Phyllis, how many friends do you have for GOA Ministry? Friends, not members. Who can walk with you? Who can stand with you? Approximately. Yes. Na si member, usiseme fantas. No, approximately 10, 15, 5. 10. Thank you. You will be the first person I'm targeting. Now, active members of the Dream Center, which is this group, active members of the Dream Center. I was hoping and praying to God that I'll have that active members, because I thought this vision has been really put in our hearts for quite some time. I know there are people who've not managed to come, but still they are active members in a way. Because of one thing or the other, they did not manage to come. But my active members of the Dream Center are approximately 30 active members of the Dream Center. That includes our architect, Maurice, include all these people. Contribution per each member, just 100,000. You can contribute yourself or your friend. You know why I'm saying from Friends of GOA? I may, like Phyllis, let's say for example our Reverend Phyllis. She has said she has 10 members. She just pick one of them to give 100,000. Or pick 2 to give 50 each. But as you as an active member, we will require 100,000 from you. 100,000. So that basically means realizable funds will be 3 million from our active members here. So the active members may decide to contribute the total amount. You can stand on your own and say you have 100,000, or get a friend or associate to give the cash, get a partner who they can join hands to mobilize the funds. So that is how to get our 3 million. Is it so hard to get our 3 million, 3.5? Does it look so hard? It's not. It is not so hard, according to me. It's not so hard because us who are seated here are having friends or associates, but friends of GOA, not members. So before I sit, I will require every member to tell me whether to write their name as an active member who will give me 100, or tell me how many other people I should write before I sit down. Yes. Because if I sit or I wait for a response, it might take longer. If we don't give, by the way, just before I start collecting names, currently, as we speak, I have 5 friends. I have 5 people already who are doing 100,000 each. 5 people doing 100,000. So we are somewhere. We've not just started. We are not starting. We started a long time ago. We have 5 people who are doing 100,000. Okay, those people say they write their name. Whether now they will go get other people or whatever will happen, but at least I will have my 500,000. Okay? And with the time, we will give ways of how we will be accounting for it. We can have maybe a WhatsApp group or something for the active members so that we can continually see how far we are from our 3 million. So we are not starting right now, but I want to correct the names starting from now.
Can I assist you or?
Yes, please. Start with Reverend Phyllis. She said 10 people, so you can write her name or the 2 or 3.
Will, I believe, do in Nairobi. The other one, the first one is, we are doing it in Donyonjeru, the mother church, on 24th of April. That's when we are doing the first one, 24th of April. As we sit here, there is another strategy meeting sitting in Mother Church now, planning for the April 24th one. We are represented there by Paul Minor, the sports person, because that one is also going to be together with the marathon and fundraising for Nyandarua. So if you come from that side and you have friends who would probably be more passionate about giving from there, that's why we took it there, because there are people who we can leverage on our networks there and relationships. If you can approach them and guide them towards 24th. 24th is the last day of our GOA family conference. And every GOA family conference, we always identify a project which we give towards. So this year, we identified this Dream Center, and we decided instead of just taking an offering around the way we do it as a major fundraising in Mother Church, which is also a marathon. So it is important that you know that, so that even as you focus on the 7th here, if you have people there whom you think they would better be mobilized there, then it goes to the same basket. You can do that. The third one, we hope to do it in the United States. We are trying to mobilize the friends, the Kenyans in the United States. So we will request each one of you who have Kenyans living in the States to start talking to them about being involved in the October fundraising for this project. We have started the engagements with them. We are mainly trying to deviate from the tradition whereby much of our donors and fundraising comes from the white people who are Americans. But we are trying to see if we can tap into the catchment area of the Kenyans who have gone to the US, and God has blessed them, and get them involved with this. So we are having those conversations. We've not finalized the plans, but the conversations have been mainly around going to have it around Seattle, because that's where we have many Kenyans who are GOA related, but we can still do it elsewhere. So we will still come back to you, or we are coming back to you now and telling you to start conversations with the Kenyan friends or family who are in the US, and directing them towards October and telling them that more details will be communicated. So I just needed to clarify on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Bishop. So, because of our time, I just want to just make a summary of what we have said here. And it's about just the timelines, we are looking at number one, having all the approvals done. That is a very key step that we look forward to achieve. And as Maurice has also mentioned here, by end of March, we expect to have that in place. We expect to have the structural drawings done and approved. And then we also expect to have the contractor who will do the work and have also the drawings registered with the National Construction Authority by end of March. And then after the draw, everything has been approved, we also expect that the cost, Bwana Kideji, I don't know how long that should take. If you have everything presented to you in 2 weeks, so meaning in the same month of end of March, we can just say that by end of March, we will also have the costing done, and that we'll be able now to tell whether we are talking about the 53 or whatever amount. Then from there, we expect that we'll also have another session where I don't know, that will link up with Mr. Gideji in terms of work implementation and the work plan, and how that will affect our operations here. We need to come up with a work plan, how this project will be implemented, with having in mind that we have other services happening here. So I think he will also advise us. I think this is part of your, he will give us that way forward once we get to the end of, we can talk about by early April or the beginning of April, we'll be having something to present in terms of work plan and what we can do with the resources that we'll be having, and also the bearing in mind that we will also have the services taking place and the head office also in operation. So I think for now it is clear in terms of financing. So if it appears that the June fundraising, if we tally that with whatever we have, we can talk about 7 million. Sure. If the April one succeeds, we will be having about 8 million, thereabout 8 million. 3 plus 4, about 5, yeah? Approximately 8 million. So meaning that by beginning of May, we can just talk about now the groundbreaking of the project. Beginning of May, that's a good time. So that now, if we will have done something, whatever we will have done, then it means when those funds are over, then by June, we will have the next fundraising, and then meaning that from June, we are able to proceed to the next level with the other 3.5 and so forth. So when Bishop goes to Maju, mnajua Maju pesa ni nyingi. Anyway, but basically, yeah. So I think from where I sit, I can see that by the end of the year, we have something to show, something good in this compound that will be seen by everyone, not the foundation, but something out of the foundation that everyone will be able to see. Are we together? Si ni kweli? Yeah, so those of you who have are still thinking about committing yourself to even looking for friends, I know everyone here, you have a friend, someone you can walk this journey, or you can invite to walk with you in this journey. It is possible, and there is a blessing for that. Kuna baraka ya kufanya hii kazi. This morning I was thinking about, there's something I was watching talking about how the pyramids were built. Nobody can tell us how they were made, but they are very huge and I don't know which ones to use, but in terms of architecture, I think the architectures can tell us, and the builders, but it's a very unique work of art, which no one knows how it was built. We do not even have the history of how the pyramids were built. I was saying that one of them has about 2.5 million blocks. And the blocks themselves, they were how many tons? Very huge blocks. Personally, I've never been able to see it, but I believe one of these days God will open a door for me to go and see the pyramids. So I don't know who has ever seen the pyramids. Who has been to Egypt? Anyone? Okay, maybe that is a door for church growth. But what I wanted to say, I was so moved when we were looking at when Brother Kidinji was talking about the cost and maybe how we might see ourselves like we are limited, maybe when we look at the 53 or whatever. But when you think about something that we do not have even history to tell us how it was made, and how accurate, it is a very accurate work, very accurate. If you read that, if you want, you can also go to Google and look for that clip. It talks about how they were able to make sure that it looks to the true north. In the years that we do not know, no one can tell us that history. But anyway, what I want to say is that we are living, and the same God who helped those Egyptians or whoever it was to do the pyramids, He is the same God. We are living in this universe He created. This is a very small piece of work that God is going to enable us to achieve in our day. And it will be very good to see ourselves in this. When I was thinking about where we have come from, the journey we started when we were from renting to tenting, and we have come also a long way, for those of us who can remember that history. So we are believing in a God who is able. We are right on track. All we need, and that is the one I wanted to leave us with, is to get out of our comfort zone. We must do something. Something has to happen. And the one I was reading is in the book of 2 Samuel, chapter 14, where Absalom, you remember Absalom, who was against his father? And at one point, when he had come back, he came back. He was home, yes, but he was not able to live with his father. He was not able even to see his father for 3 years. He was just about. But he was not able to have that fellowship with his father. But he did a very spectacular thing. He went and burned the belly of Joab, who was the king's army commander. He burned the belly. He burned the belly so that he could get the attention of the king. I'm not preaching, but I want to say we must do something this year until we are seen. Something that will stir, something that will stir something until something is seen here. Yeah? if it is doing something until people come to help us. Because Joab had to go to the king because his body was burned. And finally, Absalom had a fellowship with his father. He was reconciled with his father. So we have to do something. We have to get out of our comfort and do something. Because, you know, there are times we keep on saying, we are doing it, we are building. But this is a year that we are building. And something has to come up, and everyone has to see it.
After this place is that we are praying for the approvals of those architectural drawings, that they will not try in those offices. When he was speaking, he said that they are at the agenda level. Hizo agenda zipite mbio, because we believe the work will start very soon. And again, so that after they've been minuted and they've been approved, the cost will be done, and I will be able to know our targets. But already we have rolled out the plan to get the funds, which means we also be praying for the finances that will come. And nothing happens into them, the prayer can enforce the information. Bwana asifiwe sana. So let's load our network with information and prayer concerning this. Let them that we know, let them get to know. Let them know that there is something that we are up to and we are passionate about. And by doing so then, God will move them. Will move them and their resources to participate in this construction. Bwana asifiwe sana. So those areas we are going to pray for them passionately, and I know that the Lord will bless us. Now, the best way to communicate, we may not be able to congregate together as we are sitting here today, but in the very places that we find ourselves, we can be praying. And if you want to participate in those prayers, kindly, I would love to have your number, so that as we keep on progressing, you will have update on where to channel your prayers, so that you don't pray something that God has already answered. So you never know that next week the agenda can be passed and the approval may be out. But if you don't have the information on where to call God for, then you can be praying already an answered prayer. So, and I believe that all of us, now that we are passionate and we are ready to carry on with the mission, we need to participate in these prayers. Praise the Lord. So kindly, if you want to be receiving information on where to channel your prayers during your prayer times, kindly let me see your hand. Tafadhali ninulie tu mkono.
For close to 3 decades, the church has been fellowshipping in a tent somewhere, yet it is the headquarter, but now we are able to see that the time has come and they are able to start rebuilding and having something of their own, a place where every other church that is affiliated to these particular headquarters can call home. By and by, we are able to understand that this is a literal meaning of a journey of 1,000 steps begins with one single step. With me today is the Bishop of GOA, Kahawa Wendani, who is about to tell us a brief about the church, about certain matters surrounding the church, also about himself. So, how are you, Bishop?
Very well.
Would you kindly begin by telling us some little information about yourself, maybe your name,
Thank you very much. My name is Bishop David Munyere Thagana. I am the founder of Glory Outreach Assembly. I founded it 29 years ago in Nyandarua County when I was a teacher in Karima Girls High School. God called me to start this ministry, and I started, and the ministry has grown. As the ministry grew, I had to move from Nyandarua to Nairobi to be strategically located for the administration purposes. So when I came to Nairobi, I stayed at River Road. That's where the church was. Then we could not stay there because of challenges of urban ministry. Then we moved to Losters. Then we moved to Liberty Cinema Hall. Finally, God told us to buy our own, and so we bought here.
Wow, seems to be a journey that started from a step, 1,000 miles journey. So, what was the vision and the mission behind starting the church?
We started this church because God actually spoke to us on 29 years ago and said, "Go and make disciples of all nations." And so we started envisioning a church that is planting churches through church growth ministries, taking the gospel to the unreached people groups. And through the 29 years, we have seen people who never knew the Lord knowing the Lord through unleashed people groups. God spoke to us about taking care of the orphans and improving the quality of life and the vulnerable children. By the grace of God, 29 years after, we have taken care of over 400 children. As we speak, 295 are in our homes, 7 children's homes, and with schools and caring for their education, their food, their clothing. God spoke to us about developing leaders who are going to take this work and move on. So we have leadership development that leader helps us to train and equip leaders to spread the gospel and produce servant leaders. We are equipping our own young people from homes to become the next leaders. And he gave us a vision to build peace and to take care of the less fortunate and build peace and in the families, in the nations. And so that forms our next area of vision. And therefore we are on a mission to just do what the Lord told us to do.
Wow, that's such a great answer. So, on a scale of 10, how would you say that you have been able to achieve the vision that you indeed set before?
We probably would be very fair and honest to ourselves and say probably 7 out of 10.
Wow, congratulations. And now, just another question out of curiosity, how many branches do you have?
We have 130 churches in Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, and Congo, and very strong movements of friends in other countries.
So, to say, like in East Africa, you have been able to well set and establish yourself.
Yes, we have, but we could do much better with less challenges of finances. We could do much better. Our greatest limitation and hindrance is basically funding, because we try to spread our cake so thin as we try to distribute the finances that we have across the church growth, the caring for orphans, compassion, leadership, and peace building. So we thank God for the far we have achieved, but we could definitely achieve more with more resources.
Wow. And now on to the topic of the day, because I am really eager to hear this, though I've heard you discuss from in there, but I would really want you to explain to our viewers, because I'm sure they really want to know. Now, this particular project, how much do you estimate that it's going to cost? How long do you estimate that it's going to take?
8 years ago, when we started this project, it was envisioned that it was going to cost 53 million Kenya shillings. Today, things have changed, the fluctuation, and we have just heard Mr. Kidinji, the professional and expert in bill of quantities, saying that is definitely going to be more than 53 million. But at this point, we are at a point where our approvals and legislative approvals and plans are in the final stages. Yeah. So we will only get the actual bill of quantities once these approvals are done, which is going to be finished by March. But we are looking at anything 53 million plus to be able to complete the entire project. Yes.
So we can say that we are about we are expecting like a state of the art, something like magnificent. We can be able to expect something great coming from you in future.
Well, we are believing God, and we are working by faith that the plans you have seen there are going to be one day stand here as the real building, and people walking around will thank God and worship Him for what they see, because we want the church also to be a symbol of God's presence in the community. We want to be a uniting factor for the community where people can come. This morning I saw strangers from the community coming and walking into the tent to pray, and they are not even members of this church. So I said, what about when we will have a nice building? It will probably attract more people to come in and pray, and that's what we are looking at. Yes. And of course myself as the founding bishop, I will soon exit to retire and have other leaders coming. probably the best gift that I would like to give to the next generation is a dream center, is a church, a headquarter, offices which can unite them even when I'm not there. Currently, I probably am the uniting factor because I started the ministry and everyone looks up at me for any help and mentoring and everything. But we will want to have a uniting factor, which is actually this building and this headquarters. Yeah.
Now, on another general note, but that is now a question I'll ask like nationwide. You've spoken about unity. How would you state that? Where is the church now currently standing as a unifying symbol in this nation? Yes.
Yes, in Kenya, the church is, we haven't done the best we could do, but we have tried as much as we can to engage our leaders in terms of uniting. We are doing more in the area of prayer, to pray for this nation. And I'm telling you, if it was not for the prayer of the church, we would probably be talking of a terrible conflict and through all these political situations. But we are praying, that's our role. We speak to the political leaders. They are members of different churches, so we get those opportunities to speak to them. And once in a while, we are given the opportunity by the media also to speak to the many who are not our members. So in an opportunity like this, we use it to tell the leaders that the Kenyans are looking at them for unity. And right now, everyone is just talking about the Building Bridges initiative, which is very good if we mean what we say. Because really building bridges initiative is what we need, so that everyone can treat the other one as a brother, regardless of their political and divergent views. So we're asking everyone to just build real bridges that are real strong, not just political bridges. Yes.
I wish everybody would stand on such a ground and kindly state their opinion. But now another question that just bothers, or not really, I'd not say bothering me, but what would you advise to what advice would you give to a young pastor maybe who wants to start a church somewhere? Because we've seen they start, they drop, they have scandals. What advice would you give to them?
Well, a young pastor, I would tell them that I personally planted the first church when I was 28 years. That's when I began this ministry. And I knew nothing. I was not even married. But today the ministry is international. What has been the secret? Remaining focused in what God has told you. Just to be a person of integrity who can be trusted. Don't just be patient and not just want everything to be done today. Just wait upon God and let Him drive you. Think as big as you can about the church and the vision you have. Start small with what you have. Don't wait until when you have everything. And start now. So the young pastors, I would like to tell them, 29 years, I am still worshiping in a tent. But I have made impact in the area of children, taking care of orphans, leadership all over the world, peace building. If I waited for the building, then I would probably have done nothing. But 29 years later, I am in the tent, but I've built the lives of people. And now it's not going to be hard to build the church because I've been building people, they will build the church.
Now, back to now the project issue. How, if someone wants to support, how can they be easily able to do that? Maybe someone wants to send money, maybe someone wants to partner with you in one way or another. How can they be able to do that?
We are appealing to every kind of help that we can get from anyone. And we would really appreciate if we build it together. So we are saying, everyone come and let us build together. We have many channels of sending our support for building. Materials in kind can be given right here in this church, or they can be delivered into any GOA church anywhere. We can pick it, if it is materials in kind, cements, or whatever it is. We prefer money because material in kind storage is a challenge. And again, we don't know who has given what. To give money, we are using Lipa and M-Pesa, which is a simple method, the pay bill. Our Lipa and M-Pesa number is 853-725. So anyone going to the phone and Lipa and M-Pesa, buy options, 853-725, that can reach our support, any money put there. We also have account numbers but those ones we can give to people who are interested in actually writing checks. They can just write the checks to us, Glory Outreach Assembly, Nairobi, and we will be able to receive that. And checks, money can still be deposited in the church here, and we'll be glad to build. So we welcome every kind of donation. We have friends in different parts of the world, and we are inviting them to also give us. From the meeting you have heard that this year, we have 3 major fundraisings. One of them is on 7th of June, and we're going to do it here. We invite people who would like to be guests or to give. The next one is going to be on the 24th of April in Donyonjero, the mother church where we came from before coming to Nairobi. We invite people to participate in that as guests too. And we have the last one for this year will be in October in the United States. We are especially mobilizing our friends there, the Kenyan people and friends there, to come together and give in October and even before towards this purpose. Yes.
So now as we come to the end of our interview, what is your parting shot for the day?
My parting shot is that it is time to build. God has spoken to us through Haggai chapter 1, verse 5 and 7 and 8, and said it is no longer time to just live in our paneled homes, and it is time to reorganize our priorities and put the priorities into building God's house, because 29 years we have done so many other things, and we live in homes, we drive nice cars, we do many things, but it is time to put our focus into building GOA Dream Center and give it as a gift to the next generation of a uniting symbol of this ministry. We are no longer turning back, and for us to build, we need the support of everyone. However much, however little, we invite the support of everyone who can give, and the Lord will be praised. Amen.
Wow, thank you so much for your time, sir. God bless you so much. I'm sure much more is about to come. Now, back to our viewers, you can be able to tell that our Father in the Lord has been able to do a lot. He's one of the fathers in this nation. You can hear that he has been able to participate in issues to help the orphans, unite the nation, and much like that. He has also participated in equipping and training the leaders. What more can we say to such a great man like this? We can only say that God continue to bless and lift him. Thank you so much for joining us. I have been your host, Nyokabi Mbogwa. Be blessed.